Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the infotainment system, the Tesla infotainment system. And obviously this is very different from most cars, which kind of makes sense. However, there's a few things that really stand out, and I get a lot of questions about certain things about this car with regards to the infotainment system specifically. So we're going to get into that today. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Now, it is worth noting that a lot of my content comes from you guys, from just asking questions. So people like you who watch these videos and ask questions, that's where I get a lot of my ideas from. I do my research and I try and find out what makes sense and how I can put a video together to basically answer your questions. The infotainment system is something that scares people, and I found that it scared quite a few people out of possibly buying a Tesla. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that it looks more complicated than it is. I like to say the infotainment system in a Tesla is beautifully complicated. And the reason I say it, I guess in that sense, in that way, is because, well, you see what happens with Tesla is they make it complicated in the background, but it is actually in the real world very, very user friendly. It's not complicated for you as the user to use. It is complicated in the background. Now remember that Teslas are being run by computers. It's one of the reasons they can make changes to your braking distance, as they did with the Model 3, by a simple software update. Because these vehicles come with their own LTE network, basically Tesla can do whatever they want in terms of software updates. The biggest question I get that I think surprises me has to do with the monitor. And be it the little one on the Model 3 or the massive one over here on the Model S, everything is controlled on these monitors. And I mean everything. Everything from your positioning of your steering wheel, the stiffness, and that kind of stuff. It's all controlled from there. In a Model 3, for example, you really activate almost everything from your center console, your infotainment system. From the Model S and the X, it's a little bit different. There is a little bit more in terms of the actual buttons. And that's fine because, well, for me, for example, coming from years of driving an ICE car, it definitely made a difference because I'm so used to all the buttons and all the little knobbies and stuff like that. So the big question I get is, how easy is it to get used to this? In the real world, it really depends on you. It depends on the kind of person you are and how fast you can adapt to change. For myself, as an example, I learned the entire system, I would say within 2 days, I knew where everything was. Now, mind you, this was about 7 months ago, and at that time, the software was still version 8. So version 8, it just had a different layout compared to version 9. So when version 9 update came along, they kind of changed the entire interface and how everything looked. So of course, I had to kind of go back and learn where everything is. Not a big deal. Pretty straightforward. Again, within a day I got it figured out, and that has a lot to do with the fact that I was already accustomed to it. Now, if you own a cell phone and like a smartphone, basically Tesla interface is kind of similar to that. You know, when you went from your older phone to a smartphone, you had to kind of learn different things. And I remember this. I went from a actual flip phone to a smartphone, which was the Apple iPhone, and it took a while for me to kind of get adjusted to this. There weren't really physical buttons. Everything was based on touch. This is really no different. If you're taking, let's say, from your current car, which might have a ton of buttons and knobbies and all that stuff, and you're thinking about going to a Tesla, I can see where that can really pull you back and make you think whether or not you really want to go into that type of atmosphere. But again, just remember the days of the cell phone, right? Everything is touch. The touch, however, on a Tesla is the interface is very easy to use. So basic things to learn are easy to learn. They're not complicated. And the information displayed is all relevant to you. I think that's a great feature to have. Now, making the changes in the background, Model 3 or Model S or Model X, doesn't matter. making some of the basic adjustments. You know, you set your position, you have your seats and so forth and so on. All of that stuff you don't do every day. So the key things you're going to do every day is get in your car, push down on the lever, and drive, right? Or up if you're going in reverse first. So your average usage is really nothing to do with any of this. It basically just drive. However, you do want to make changes, and those changes are in the background. And again, they're really not that hard. It just takes a little bit of time to going through each one of them and figure out what works, what doesn't, and what everything is. You know, YouTubers are a great help for this. Now, obviously, when it comes to finding information, YouTube is a great platform to do this. You can also ask people at your service center or, well, at the showrooms or anywhere like this. However, I do find that at a service center, I don't know if they are not being trained or they just don't have the time to learn. I haven't found a service center that knows as much in some of the things that the cars do as they probably should. That doesn't mean that they don't know. It just might mean that they don't know what the latest thing is out there. You have to remember that because of software updates, it becomes kind of an issue because they have to kind of keep up with the pace. And with the recent amount of sales happening and all those things going on, the service centers are pretty darn busy at this moment. So what are some of the basic things that you're going to want to learn right off the bat? If you guys do want to know, leave me a comment below and I'll make a video about the basic starting point of where you should start with regards to understanding your entire infotainment system. Leave me a comment below. I'll pop together a video pretty quick. I actually have a lot of footage already on it. I just have to, I guess, fine tune it. And if you leave me your comments, I can probably add some more in there. I guess the bottom line is, if the infotainment system is something that scares you or you're worried about, I can tell you it's not something you should be worried about. I think you'll be perfectly fine. Just give yourself a little bit of time to kind of get adjusted to it. Of course, I do get an interesting question because that is my go-to answer for a lot of people. And somebody brought up the fact, okay, but when I pick up my car, will I be able to drive it, or am I going to have a problem, you know, even getting it out of the parking lot? And my answer to that is, you'll be fine. You'll get in the car, you'll drive it. At the very least, you'll have no problem driving it home. It's what happens after the fact. Once you drive it home and you want to show it off to your friends, because let's be honest, you will, you're going to have a harder time because they're going to ask you questions and you still are not familiar with everything. Take that first weekend if you can and just kind of sit in your car and go through your options and figure out what's what. In the real world, it's really, really not as complicated as it looks. I hope you guys found this video a little bit helpful, and like I said, please don't forget to comment and let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you'd like me to make a video on. This channel, a lot of these things that I do and a lot of the videos you see are based on the questions you yourselves are requesting. So the more you ask, the better videos I can make. Let me know what you would like to know. Let me know what kind of information you'd like to hear from me, and I'll be more than happy to respond both in the comments and in a video format. With that said, thank you very much for watching. As always, I appreciate the support. You can subscribe if you want to see more videos. Have a look around the channel. There's tons of stuff on this channel. And with that said, please drive safe and stay off your cell phones when you're driving. Bye-bye.